Welcome to Making a Murderer, Rubberducky YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me again today on the RD Making a Murderer daily MaM reading. We're doing the CASO Investigative Reports, and we're doing pages 431 through 440, part 44. Page 431. At that time, we thanked Jody for her cooperation and ended the interview. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Wiegert, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 432. Type of activity, interview of Dolan L. Oschlager. Date of activity, 02/22/06. Reporting officer, Investigator Wendy Baldwin. On 02/22/06 at approximately 12:52 hours, I, Investigator Baldwin of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, made contact with Dolan L. Oschlager at his residence of 2911 Fieldcrest Drive. The purpose of conducting this interview was to find out more information of why Dolan was on Steve Avery's visitor list. Dolan explained that he and his girlfriend returned home one night after drinking in Neenah and got into a heated debate about Steven Avery case. Dolan said he thought Steven was innocent and his girlfriend thought he was guilty. While debating this, Dolan had contacted the Calumet County Jail and asked to be put on Steven's visitor list. He said a short time later, a correctional officer informed him that it would be okay to do that and took his information. He said shortly after that, Steven's mother, Dolores, had been attempting to contact him via cell phone. Dolan said the reason why he wanted to visit Steven was to offer some legal advice. He said he felt it was unfair for Steven to be tried in Calumet or Manitowoc counties due to the setup that Steven was facing. He was going to suggest for him to try and get his trial moved to the Eastern District or Supreme Court in Wisconsin because he felt it was biased to have Steven's trial in this area. Dolan stated, since that discussion, he feels differently about Steven Avery and that he is guilty at this point. Dolan said he never had personal or voice contact with Dolores. However, 2½ to 3 weeks ago was the last attempt she made to contact him. After Dolan explained his intent to visit Steven, he questioned me on if an Avery had ever lived by Lori DePise. I had informed him that I was not sure, however, that has come upon through the interviews in this investigation. I asked Dolan why he was wondering about that, and he said prior to Lori DePise going missing, he had been a good friend with her and her friend, Angel. Dolan said there was a man that Lori always talked about being creepy and always watching her. Dolan said he had heard it was one of Steven's brothers that lived by Lori and was wondering about that. I asked Dolan if he had ever brought it out to the investigator's attention when she did go missing, and he said no, that he did not. Dolan said approximately 2 years ago, an investigator had contact with him due to his knowledge about page 433. The Volkswagen Rabbit that she had owned. However, he never brought this attention to the investigator's attention at that time. I told Dolan I would relay the information to the appropriate investigators for that case, and they may possibly be in contact with him in the future. Investigator Wendy Baldwin, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 434. Type of activity, interview of blank. Date of activity, 02/20/06. Reporting officer, investigator Mark Wiegert. On 02/20/06 at approximately 1740 hours, I, Investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Investigator Baldwin, went to the address of 6904 County Highway Y to speak with blank. Upon arrival at the residence, we were met by blank's mother, Candy, and were invited into the residence. Upon arrival at the residence, we did meet with blank, Candy, and Earl Avery at the kitchen table. I informed blank wished to speak with her about some information that Jody Stachowski would have provided her about being beaten up by Steven. Blank stated on several occasions Jody would confide in her and tell her that Steven had hit her. Blank states last year on her sister Marie's birthday, which would have been June 14th, They were having a birthday party at Blank's house. According to Blank, Jody was at the house and told her on that date that Steven had hit her. She also told Blank that she had been punched in the stomach by Steven. I asked Blank if Jody had given her specific dates to which Blank stated she does not remember. Blank was also told by Jody that Steven would throw everything around the house and that he would make Jody pick it up. Jody also told Blank that she, meaning Jody, wanted to run away, but she was afraid that Steven would find her, and she was afraid of Steven. According to Blank, Jody asked her if she, meaning Blank, could help Jody out and get her somewhere safe. Blank told me that Jody stated she wanted to go somewhere where Steven could not hit her anymore. Blank also told us that when Jody confided in her, Jody stated she would have to do everything that Steven said, and even if she did not want to, Steven would make her do it. That is all Blank could remember, what Jody told her. Page 435. Blank did state that Steven scared her as well. I asked her why she would have been scared of Steven. Blank stated it was just the way he looked at people. Blank stated on one occasion, she believes it was, at the shop at the junkyard, Steven elbowed her in the boobs and said they were big boobs. I asked Blank if he, meaning Steven, had ever touched her in any sexual way or touched her in any private areas, to which she stated he did not. Blank did state that on several occasions, Steven would grab her arms and pull them up over her head, pin her to the wall, and then he would let go of her. He stated when he would do this, she became very scared and would tell him not to do it. Blank stated he did this on several occasions, but could not provide me with any details. As I was talking with Blank, she stated to me that her cousin, Brendan, who had been burning things with Steven on Halloween night, had been acting up lately. I asked Blank what she meant by him acting up, to which Blank stated Brendan would just sit there and stare into space and start crying. Blank also told me that Brendan had lost approximately 40 pounds since this all started a couple months ago. Blank and her mother, Candy, both told me at that time they both remembered seeing the bonfire by Steven's house on Halloween night. Blank and Candy had stopped by Blank's grandmother, Dolores's, on Halloween night, and they remember seeing the fire down by Steven's trailer. That was the end of my conversation with Blank, and Earl Avery. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Wiegert, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 436. Type of activity: receipt of Dr. Donald O. Simley II. DDS's report. Date of activity: 02/23/06. Reporting officer investigator Mark Wiegert. On 02/23/06, I, Investigator Wiegert, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, received a report from Dr. Donald O. Simley in reference to the Halbach homicide case. Dr. Simley compared the tooth fragments to the known dental x-rays of Teresa Halbach. Included with this report will be Dr. Simley's examination results. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Wiegert, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 437. Type of activity: interview of Sue M. Vetter. Date of activity: 02/24/06. Reporting officer investigator Mark Wiegert. On 02/24/06 at approximately 15:50 hours, I, Investigator Wiegert, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, received a phone call from a Sue M. Vetter. Sue wished to provide information reference the Halbach homicide. Sue stated an ex-boyfriend of hers by the name of David Monroe Whitman said she and David could be suspects. Sue stated both she and David were at the junkyard on Halloween, 10/31/05. She stated they were there between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock p.m. The reason for going to the junkyard, according to Sue, was to pick up some framing for a dash on a Saturn. She stated when they got to the junkyard, Steven had waited on David and her. I asked Sue if she had previously contacted our department reference this information, to which she stated she had and had spoken with an officer. Sue indicated to me at that time she just wanted to call us back because now she and David were split up and she thought David may have something to do with Teresa's disappearance. Sue stated David lives in a rooming house in the village of Francis Creek. According to Sue, David's ex-wife was somehow related to the Halbach family, and he holds ill feelings towards them. Sue also indicated she had been contacted by a private investigator referenced this matter. Sue stated the private investigator's name was Jim Stefanik. I informed Sue I would review her previous statements, and if I needed anything else, I would get back to her. It should be noted that investigator Gary Steyer from the Calumet County Sheriff's Department had previously interviewed Sue Vetter and David Whitman on 01/1906. For more information on that, please see pages 395 through 396 of this report. Page 438. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Wiegert, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 439. Type of activity, interview of Brendan R. Dassey, date of birth, 10/1989. Date of activity, 02/2706 at approximately 12:30 p.m. Reporting Officer Investigator Mark Wiegert. On 02/2706, I, Investigator Wiegert, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Special Agent Tom Fassbender, from the Department of Criminal Investigation, went to the Mishcot High School to meet with Brendan Dassey. Upon arrival, Brendan did present himself into a conference room where we met with him. Prior to meeting with Brendan, we did inform Brendan that he was not under arrest, did not have to answer any questions, and did not need to speak with us. Brendan indicated he understood this and agreed to talk with us. It should be noted that the entire interview of Brendan was put on audio tape. Brendan was advised that the interview would be audio taped. The following is a brief synopsis of the first interview with Brendan Dassey. Brendan stated that on Halloween, 10/31/05, he had gotten off the bus at 3:45 p.m. had seen her Jeep down at Steven's house. Brendan stated he'd gone into the house and played PlayStation for 2 or 3 hours. Brendan stated he then ate, and at approximately 8 o'clock p.m., he received a phone call from Steven. Steven had asked Brendan if he wanted to come over and have a fire, and Brendan stated he did. Brendan stated Steven told him to bring the golf cart, which he stated he did. According to Brendan, they went driving around the yard to pick up several items. Brendan stated they dropped off the car seat by the fire and then went to get some wood and an old cabinet, and then went back to the fire to throw the seat on the fire. Brendan stated they then waited for the fire to go down and threw wood and an old cabinet on the fire. Brendan stated at that time he saw toes before they put the wood and the cabinet on the fire. Brendan stated Steven saw him and that Steven realized he had seen the toes, and Steven told Brendan not to say anything. According to Brendan, Steven had told him that he, meaning Steven, had stabbed her, meaning Teresa, in the stomach in the pit, and that he took the knife and put it under the seat of her Jeep. We asked Brendan why Steven had done this, to which Brendan stated Steven had said that he was angry. Brendan also told us that Steven told him that Steven had had a rope to tie her up in the Jeep. Brendan stated that Steven had threatened him. Brendan also told us that he saw the fingers, the belly, and the forehead of Teresa in the page 440 fire. Brendan stated he believed that the body was all together and was underneath some tires and branches. Steven had told Brendan that he hid the vehicle in the pit back in the tree area and put some tree branches on the top of it and put the car hood on top of it. Brendan also told us that Steven had gone into the garage and had taken some clothes and put them in the fire. Brendan described the clothes as a blue shirt and some pants. Brendan stated there was blood on the shirt and there was a hole in the stomach area. Brendan stated Steven had told Brendan that it was Teresa's shirt. Brendan stated to us that when they were up north at the cabin, Steven told Brendan that he was going to get a car and try to get it as far away as he could. That was a brief synopsis of the interview. The following will be a transcription of the audio-taped interview. Fassbender. Mark's obviously laying out a taped recorder on the table. We'd like to tape the interview, okay? No problem with that, if that's all right. You're not under arrest, you know that. You're free to go at any time you want. Just listen to us. You don't have to answer any questions if you don't want to, and stuff like that, okay? And I would really appreciate if you would just kind of relax and open up with us. We're not here to jump you in your face or get into you or anything like that. I know that might have happened before and stuff like that. We're not here to do that. We're here more to maybe let you talk or talk to you a little about how you've been feeling lately and stuff. I I have a feeling there's some things on your mind and just want to give you that opportunity to talk about them. I want you to talk to us. Talk about whatever you're thinking, feeling, maybe. I don't know, something's bothering you and you know that, and it's got to be laying real heavy on you. You've had a tough go of it lately, I'd imagine, huh? Brendan. Yeah, we definitely understand that. Fassbender. We're not here to hurt anyone. We just, if you got a chance to meet Teresa's mother and stuff, you've got to know them a little. And you'd know what they were decent people too. Just like I think your brothers are and your mom is, and people don't realize that because all this bad press and stuff. And that's all we're thinking about. Just to bring justice no matter how hard or how much it hurts. Um, for Teresa. This feels pretty awkward, but go ahead and tell us what's been bothering you. Let's start our review on page 432. We're talking to Dolan L. Oschlager. So Dolan, I don't know how he knows Steve. It doesn't really say, but he and his girlfriend have gotten in a fight. And what's interesting is he's telling him right here. He was going to suggest to him to try and get a trial moved to the Eastern District or even Supreme Court in Wisconsin because he felt it was biased for Stephen to have his trial in the area. And then he went on to question him, the investigator, about Lori DePais. And he asked if any of the Averys had lived near there. And then Dolan went on to say that there was a man that was always that Lori talked about, that always being creepy and always watching her. And he had heard it was one of Stephen's brothers that lived by Lori and was wondering about that. So that's interesting. Then we start with another blank. Now this is not Marie. How do we know? Because it's her sister. So this is probably Kayla. And as we know, Kayla lied, and she was on the stand, and she admitted under oath that she did lie. So I really don't hold a lot of stock in this. I just wanted to point out that this was not Marie, that this was Kayla. And it's all the same, though, because guess what? We're looking at Candy Avery, Earl Avery, and her sister, Kayla Avery. All from the same family. And per what we had just discovered, where Marie and her mother have been having an affair with Stephen, it really gets a bigger picture of what's going on. They asked Kayla if Stephen had ever touched her private area or done anything sexual, which she stated no, he did not. She could not provide with any dates. However, she did go on, and here's where she starts with the Brendan stories. And we know that this is all stories that she's made up as per her own testimony on the trial. Now, we're on page 436, and we're switching gears. We're going to be talking about Dr. Donald. So, Dr. Simile, or Donald, is a tooth doctor. He's a dentist, and he's comparing some x-rays of Teresa's Hallbach's dental work in the past with the tooth fragments, but we don't get to see that report. Now we're on page 437. We're talking to a Sue M. Vetter. Now, we talked to Sue before, and she was talking about being on the junkyard, with her boyfriend. Now they're split up, and now she's suspecting, because she's the ex, that David Monroe, now that's where I get is this the color lab, David? I don't know, because that was Dan Morneau or something. But anyway, this gentleman has somehow, according to Sue, David's ex-wife was related to the Hallbach family, and he holds ill will feelings towards them. And he was at the junkyard that day, so he should be questioned. Hopefully we see an interview with him. Now we start off with Brendan Dassey's interview. Now keep in mind, This is in February. He's already been interviewed. And Brendan was informed that he did not have to talk to them, that this was a audio taped interview. Now, this synopsis, I am not going to read it to you because we're going to go right into the transcript, the audio tape. I'm not even going to review the other part. Obviously, out of all this talking on this last page of this read, we have one agreement by Brendan. So forget about everything you've read except for this. You've had a tough go of it lately, I'd imagine. Huh. Yeah. Well, his uncle has been accused of mass murder. Or not mass murder, but horrific murder. Dismemberment and all kinds of horrible stuff. And we're talking about 2/27. So this is February. So we've got all of November, all of December, all of January that I'm sure his life has went under some sort of stress from a family structural point. And as we've done a lot of research into the speech and the logistics of this all, Brendan doesn't understand everything they're saying anyway. So we'll go ahead and we'll cut off there, and we'll continue this interview with Brendan on our next read. Oh boy, we have more blank and more blank. I can't wait to be done with blank. Blanket, right? I need a blanket, yeah. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for your wonderful support, whether it be for Brendan or Steven or both. I appreciate it. Just keeping them in the eye of the world keeps them safer. And thank you for your support on our channel as well. And with that, you guys, if you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't do the time.